Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Ukraine and Russia. And we're going to talk about a question that keeps coming in. It's coming in pretty often now about timing. And there's not an answer to it. There is not an answer to it. That's not how any of this works. But we have some information that can provide a possible answer, best information at time of filming, but understand it could change a lot between now and then. The question is simple. When is the war going to be over? Christmas, obviously. The troops will be home by Christmas. It's not how this stuff works. It's not how this stuff works. If you go back to that first video, the futures, plural, of Ukraine and Russia. Let's talk about the futures of Ukraine and Russia. It runs through a bunch of scenarios because, again, in real life, if you're actually trying to be accurate, you can't really predict what's going to happen in a war prior to it starting, which is what people were trying to do at the time that video was filmed. You can't do that, but you can go through likely scenarios. And that's what I did in that video. And one of the things that I said was that if basically Ukraine couldn't get their resistance up and running prior to Russia getting to where it's going, it would become protracted, and it would be years or decades long. That's the reality of it. Russia failed at capturing the country, but they've got pretty big chunks. That protracted phase, that's what's happening right now. You have a bunch of Western commentators talking about how Ukraine they're not picking up as much territory as quickly as they should. Based on what exactly? I would point out that this is as close to a pitched conventional fight as we've seen in a really long time. There's no actual information to go off of when it comes to how fast an offensive should move. Because when it comes to anything that's comparable, the information is from before the era of cell phones. You can't pretend that that's even remotely comparable today. So, like all wars, particularly those that are based on an invasion that was elective, and when the invading force behaved the way the Russian military has, it's going to go on as long as it has to. The U.S., people in the U.S., they're talking about aid. Okay, I mean, I get it. It's something to discuss. But this isn't numbers. It's not a dollar amount for the people over there. They saw what happened to towns that Russia captured. They don't want it happening to their town. They're fighting for their homes. The idea that there's going to be a set time where everybody's just like, okay, I guess that's enough. That seems really unlikely. Even if the national government in Ukraine decided to say, okay, fine, we're going to sign and just say the lines are where they are. You think the people are going to? This is in a protracted fight. Now, what new information do we have? Defense intel, Ukraine's defense intel, not the U.S. defense intel. They said that they believe the Russian economy can hold out until 2025, but that their arms will hold out until 2026. So, unless Russian resolve breaks, you're looking at 2026 before the fighting ends. That's the situation. There are people who are looking for a quick resolution. Quick is costly. Quick costs people their lives. So that outcome is pretty unlikely. So you're still looking at a couple more years. That's why you're getting defense packages and aid approved years out in advance. Stop listening to commentators who are telling you the war is going to be over by Christmas. Stop listening to commentators who tell you that one side is on the verge of breaking. Stop listening to commentators who are telling you that one side isn't doing it well enough based on the information they have, which realistically most of them are comparing this conflict to the ground maneuvers of World War II. I feel like things have changed a little bit since then. If you're looking for a speedy resolution to this, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And that was known before the fighting started. When you go back, look at that video, look at those scenarios, Russia could have captured the whole country quickly. Ukraine could have stopped the advance with a resistance. Those would have been short options. But once Russia formed lines and started saying, we're keeping this, there was no quick resolution. It's not in the cards. And that was known before Putin launched the invasion. The war will go on, and Europe in particular, because it is more important to Europe than it is to the United States, Europe will probably continue to support Ukraine until it's over. You have to factor in a whole bunch of things that people don't want to talk about when it comes to Ukraine. Europe needs Ukraine on its side, because all of that food, all of that grain, as climate continues to take a toll, it's going to matter. It's not the game Civilization. It's not Risk. There are long-term impacts to this. And a lot of the people providing commentary, they are not taking into account all of the information that the policymakers have. And they're providing commentary that is setting unrealistic expectations. Europe will probably continue to support Ukraine as long as they have to, because they don't really have a choice long term. The United States probably will too, because it keeps Russia kind of on it keeps them out of the big table and allows the United States to focus on China from a foreign policy aspect. The war in Ukraine is not about the fighting on the ground. War is a continuation of politics by other means. And that fight, it is far more important to the West than most commentators or most people in the West believe. It's not going to be over quickly, and I would not expect major governments to stop supporting Ukraine. Those estimates, 2025, 2026, that's assuming that there are no changes. Understand other countries could come in on the side of Russia and prolong it. Russia is getting their forever war right now. Would have been great if they had learned from the U.S., but they didn't. This isn't ending anytime soon. The troops will not be home by Christmas. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.